So as majority of us know, Faze Sway is regarded as one of the greatest Fortnite controller players in the world. In fact, he gained all of his notoriety and fame from the simple fact that he is so talented whilst playing on a controller. His talent is literally incomparable to anybody else that uses a controller on Fortnite. And when it comes to talent on Fortnite, one of the most important aspects is settings. So I know a lot of you guys are likely wondering what settings Faze Sway uses. Everything from miscellaneous settings to sensitivity settings, as well as his keybinds. So today's video, we're going to be taking a look at all of those, and I'll also be giving you a brief description on basically the reason he uses certain settings and doesn't use other settings. This way you guys not only can use his settings, but understand the reasoning behind them. So without wasting any time, let's go ahead and get right into it. So we're going to be starting with the sensitivity settings and working our way from the top to the bottom, starting with the build mode and edit mode sensitivity multiplier. Both of his are actually set to a 2.1. So both his build mode and edit mode sensitivity multipliers are set to a 2.1, which kind of explains the reasoning that he's pretty much twice as fast as everybody else that builds on Fortnite. Continuing down is going to be the advanced look sensitivity settings. Essentially this will affect everything when you're not aimed down sights with an item. His look horizontal speed as well as the look vertical speed are both matched at a 46%. He has a 0% for both his boosts and does not have any turning boost ramp time. Next is going to be the ADS sensitivity settings. This of course will affect everything when you're aimed down sights using an item in Fortnite, basically when you're using left trigger. So his ADS look horizontal as well as ADS look vertical speed are both set to an 11%, and once again he has no boost, so do not worry about that. Continuing downward is actually now going to be the advanced sensitivity settings. His look dampening time is lowered all the way to a 0.00 seconds, and he actually uses the look input curve linear. Now this is the main reason, like the most critical part of his settings in regards to why he's able to do everything with such a high speed and velocity. This is because linear is the look input curve that he is using. Obviously there's two of them. Exponential is kind of like a slower, more comfortable look input curve for everybody else. However, once you reach kind of that advanced threshold for Fortnite, then you should more than likely be switching to linear, just like he does. So even though some of his sensitivity settings might seem a lot lower than the average player, none of that really matters due to the fact that he does use linear. And then to emphasize his speed even more so, we're going to be making our way to the controller dead zones. His move stick dead zone is set to a 5%, and the look stick dead zone, this is the most important one, is set to a 6%. Now the reason his is at a 6% rather than a 5 is because he says that he does experience some drift sometimes, so he's just raised it out 1%. Now be aware, if you try to use a 6% look stick dead zone, just know that it's going to be extremely fast. Whenever you go to look around or build or edit, just be prepared for the speed that is to come with this low look stick dead zone. Again, this pretty much just emphasizes the velocity and speed of his game style. So as I stated, even though a couple of his sensitivity settings seem a lot lower than the average player, all of that is pretty much controlled by the look stick dead zone and linear in regards to his game style and performance. Now next is going to be probably the second most important part of today's video, and this is going to be the keybinds that he uses. So his keybinds are actually relatively simple. He plays on a custom builder pro, as pretty much every Fortnite player does. Keep in mind he does use a PlayStation 4 controller, but all of these keybinds can be used on the Xbox One controller, and he does use a claw grip, which isn't entirely necessary for these keybinds. So his triangle button, which is Y for Xbox One, is binded to edit, and his left analog stick clicked in, which is otherwise known as L3, is binded to toggle pickaxe. Believe it or not, those are the two main changes he has made on his combat controls. Again, wired triangle is set to edit, and the left analog stick clicked in is set to toggle pickaxe. And then lastly, for his keybinds is going to be in his edit controls, and these are actually relatively simple. The only thing he has changed, which I believe is not the same as default, is actually that his circle, which is B for Xbox One, is binded to confirm. So whenever he goes to make an edit, he presses wired triangle, obviously selects the tiles, and then confirms it using B or circle. Again, this is obviously very comfortable if you're a claw player. However, if you are not, it does not matter at all because this is still completely usable. In fact, I use these exact same keybinds, and I can guarantee and vouch that these are probably the best keybinds in the game as of right now. The only difference I have is that my edit controls are slightly different. So we'll now hop into the miscellaneous settings. So these are going to be things like colorblind mode, obviously confirm edit on release, auto open doors. So basically like minor settings that people don't typically think of too often, but they still do actually impact your game performance. So the first thing is that his colorblind mode is set to Tritanope, and his colorblind strength is maxed out at a 10. This is what he uses on a regular basis whenever he's playing obviously arenas or just regular public matches. And he also stated that when he plays Zone Wars, he uses the Tritanope colorblind mode simply because this allows him to see through the storm. Next in his miscellaneous settings is sprint by default, and he has this turned on, and this is a must when using his settings, simply because, as I stated in his keybinds, his left analog stick is binded to toggle pickaxe, meaning he has no sprint button. So basically, sprint by default is necessary, like you literally have to have it on when using these settings. This way we can of course still be able to sprint in game. He has auto open doors on, which is extremely important for a player like him that edits quite often. So if you're a player that's constantly building and editing throughout the game very consistently, then auto open doors will be your best friend, because a lot of times when you go to make an edit, one of the most common errors is rather than making a 3-corner edit, you might accidentally mess up and make a door edit. With auto open doors on, you'll simply run right through the door automatically, and it won't slow you down or hinder you at all. If you were to have auto open doors off, then it would be an entirely different story. You'd literally have to manually open the door and exit your edit menu. It would just be an entire mess. So auto open doors on is very important when using his settings. He has confirm edit on release set to off. Now this is something that I completely agree with. This, if anything, will just slow down your edits and kind of get you in a bad habit of not using a confirm button. So a lot of people wonder if he uses confirm edit on release. Well, he does not, because basically if he did, his edits would be way slower than what they are. Obviously, turbo building as well as reset building choice are both set to on. He also has tap to search or interact turned on. This one doesn't really matter too much, but it is something that a lot of advanced and pro players recommend that the average Fortnite player actually turns on. And then lastly, for his miscellaneous settings is actually his HUD scale. Now, for whatever reason, a lot of people wonder what his HUD scale is. I'm not sure what the kind of allure is, but basically his HUD scale is set to a 50%. Basically, it's half of the default setting. So that's basically all of Faze Sway's settings. We went over everything from sensitivity settings to dead zones, keybinds, and then finished the video up with miscellaneous settings. So hopefully after you guys give yourselves a couple of days to get used to these settings, we can try our best to replicate not only his game style, but also his game performance. I mean, that's like the main part of today's video, and I'm sure that's the reason why a lot of you guys are actually looking up his settings in the first place. Now, if you guys enjoyed today's video or found it helpful, a like would be beyond appreciated down below. And of course, on the contrary, if you genuinely disliked today's video, then by all means feel free to leave a dislike. And if you're new around here and would like to see more daily Fortnite content like this in the future, feel free to subscribe as well as turning on those post notifications. Nonetheless, my name is InTheGamerTag. Thank you all for watching today's video, and I'll see you tomorrow. Adios.